Whether the team is giving us the highs of highs or the blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So we got an injury update from DQ and a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. I was hoping to see Noah Brown be back in this game. Just another weapon for Jaden to get the football to. He's not going to play. And again, it kind of aligns with the idea that I brought up, the notion that I came up with about guys that have been out for, an extended period of time and how this game is set up. Short week, Monday, then you got another game Sunday. You got to travel for that game. So there's just a lot of different things that are going to factor in. If you can at all avoid it, you would like to not have a Sam Cosmi, who has not been ruled out of this game, by the way. He is listed as questionable. So that is interesting because, and we'll look at the injury report a little bit later on as we get to in other news. But that is interesting. My wife floated out this idea of them platooning him in, working him in, and sort of, hey, while he starts the game, Cosmi comes in for a possession while he goes back in and kind of monitoring his snaps, right? Kind of working him back in. I didn't think of that. I just figured when he was ready, they were going to cut him loose. But he's been working, as DQ told us, with the practice, with the scout team. He's been getting some reps with the starters. He's been working with the second team offense. So he's been all over the place. It would make sense for them to ease him in and not just throw him out there and say, all right, big fella, you're gonna play 63 snaps tonight. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to work him in. But to not rule him out is big. Because DQ flat out told us Terry and Noah are out. I think you got two guys that are questionable, and then you have some, and then I think Cosmi's doubtful, if I'm not mistaken. We'll look at the injury report, but I think you got Debo, and I think there's one more guy that's questionable, and then you have Chris Rodriguez Jr. is questionable, if I'm not mistaken, and then you have Cosmi is doubtful. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays. But to me, it doesn't make sense to play Cosmi. It doesn't make sense to play Terry. And now that Noah Brown isn't active, it kind of makes sense not to play him either if you're not 100% sure. And DQ basically said that he's close, but he's just not ready yet. And this is the way that they've approached these injuries. It's the right way, by the way, to be extremely cautious. But I'm just hoping what happened to us against Atlanta doesn't happen to us here, where you get away with it for one game, and then you're close to playing a guy, but you're like, hey, we got away with it last week. Let's just do it one more time. And it comes back to bite you. It's different because we got Jaden, and that helps a lot. And also, where I'm going to, what the lead story really revolves around is whether or not Noah Brown played in this game wasn't going to change the way I felt about what the game plan needed to be going into this game. It wasn't going to alter that in any way, shape, or form. I was always going to want the team to run the football, okay? But now that Noah Brown is officially out, along with Terry McLaurin, of this game, I think it is imperative that Kliff Kingsbury go into this game with the mindset that we had against the Raiders. We came out on that opening possession, and what did we do? We pounded the rock. We did not throw a single pass on that opening possession versus the Raiders en route to scoring a touchdown on that opening drive. We didn't throw a single pass. We dropped back on one pass from Marcus Mariota on a 3rd down and goal from about the 6, and he ended up taking off and running for the touchdown himself. But we didn't attempt a single pass. That's the type of energy we need to come out with against Chicago. Granted, it's Jaden Daniels. He's not going to have a drive where Jaden Daniels turns around and hands it off every single time. Even if it's a smoke screen or it's a hitch to Debo, he's not going to allow Jaden Daniels to be out there for an entire possession and not throw the football, which at this point, You're going against the number 31st rated rush defense. They're almost dead last in the league. And had they played 5 games like most of the teams in the league, they would be dead last in rush yards given up. Absolute dead last, because that's what they were going into their bye week, dead last. And it's only because they didn't play last week, they're 31st now. They stink against the run. Genty got off on them. Javonte Williams got off on them. The Lions running backs got off on them. You can run the football against this Bears defense. And when I say that, I'm saying that kindly. You can pound the rock against these boys. So the game plan should be pretty simple for Kliff Kingsbury. Run it until they stop it. But we all know Kliff can get really cute, and he can get away from what's working. He can try to outsmart himself sometimes. This seems like a no-brainer. You're going up against a defense that's not very good. And then on top of matters, Grady Jarrett, one of their better interior defensive linemen, he's not playing in this game. So you have every reason to attack them on the inside of this defense. So just make sure you keep the main thing in this game. And I just want to talk about the film from the Chargers game briefly. If you're a member of the mob, the film is up. Go check it out. I am so impressed with this offensive line up front. I really, truly am. Watching the film was so much fun. It really was. Watching them dominate up front, watching them get out in space and mollywop guys. And I'm not just talking about the offensive line. I'm talking about the extension of the offensive line as well, whether it's Trent Scott, but I'm talking about those tight ends, man. Ben Sinnott putting dudes' dick in the dirt. You know, John Bates being John Bates. It's so much fun watching this offensive line dominate right now. Tyler Biadasz is playing at an extremely high level. Chris Paul is playing out of his gourd right now. I mean, he really is. I did not think I could be this impressed with Chris Paul, but he is playing exceptional football. The weakest link on the offensive line right now is Andrew Wiley. And he's 1 week away from being relegated to bench duties where he belongs. So right now I'm feeling, and when I talk about Wiley being the weakest link, he's not stinking it up, but he is getting beat from time to time. And he was the reason for the fumble last week by Bill, because he gave up instant penetration. When there's instant penetration in the backfield, usually 9 times out of 10, it's Andrew Wiley. Matter of fact, 11 times out of 10, it's Andrew Wiley. But he's actually been really good too. He's been solid. Let's not overrate his performance. He's been solid. Okay. But this line as a collective group has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. Which leads me back to my original point, which is we can't get away from what we are and what we've established. We talked about establishing an identity. Well, you've effectively done that, even if it's been indirectly and you didn't necessarily intend on this happening. It's what's happened. You're the number 1 rush offense in football. I need you to act like it on Monday night. Don't get cute. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to have this be a Jaden Daniels showcase game. There are no receivers out there. We don't even know if Deebo Samuel is playing in this game. He's going to play in this game. But still, this doesn't need to be a Jaden Daniels showcase game. We already know what 5 is capable of. If he's got to use his legs on Monday night, fine. So be it. We know that comes along with the Jaden Daniels package. However, let this be a running back showcase night. Let this be an exclamation point on the fact that we have the number 1 ground game in the NFL. Showcase that to the world. Let them know that we came in with the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL, and here's why. And then present them the evidence on Monday night. This should be Bill with 18 carries, Chris Rodriguez with 9 or 10 carries, and J-Mac with another 5 or 6. They should get a heavy, staunch dose of the run game. Does anybody use spray starch anymore? Just random question. My mom used to use that shit religiously. She probably still has a bottle of spray starch at her house. Does anybody use starch anymore? Your clothes would come out like cardboard. Whatever. Bottom line is, run the football. Jaden's going to probably have 4 or 5, totes himself, whether it's designed or he keeps it on read option or he takes off and runs when nothing's there. Whatever. When it's all said and done and we look up, we should be over 200 yards of rush offense against this putrid Bills rush defense. Bears, rush defense. Make it happen, right? That's what I want to see in this game. So, anyway, I digress. Run the football, Kliff. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. I don't want to be in the mob chat at around 9:37 having the mob freak out because this game isn't going the way we want it to, and Kliff is out here trying to be cute, and we started slow again, and everybody's saying, run the ball, Kliff. Let's not do that. Let's start from the word go, running the football. I digress. Let's move on to in other news. So I see y'all trying to fry me up in the comment section. So my mom doesn't call it starch spray. She calls it spray starch. That's that island shit where you just make up shit that doesn't make sense. You hear it enough and then you start saying dumbass shit. So you got to excuse me. Blame my mom for that. But anyway, starch. Let's just call it starch. Okay. I digress. Shout out to my mom. If you're watching, I love you. Anyway, we heard from DQ today, as we knew we would. He gave us an update on the guys that had to practice, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to talk about what DQ had to say today. But before we do any of that, I think it's something that is very important this week for both teams, and that's the injury report. So let's first take a look at the injury report for both teams, starting with the good guys. And let's see what we got here. So as we talked about earlier at the top of the show, Terry and Noah Brown are out. And I was hoping we'd get Noah Brown back. We knew Terry wasn't going to play. I'm not even sure. I'm going to be honest with you. After watching Terry running around, I'm not even sure Terry's back next week against Dallas. All right. I'm going to remain hopeful that he'll be back. But we're going to talk about something that DQ said today, because that makes me feel like after watching Terry stretch, which probably doesn't mean anything, but I wasn't like 100% comfortable with what I saw. We'll come back to that. Neither one of these guys are playing this week. That's what's important. Sam Cosme, doubtful. I don't think he's going to play, but if he does, I told you what my wife said, and I think she's on to something about him, getting 24 or, 27 snaps in this game, platooning with Andrew Wiley, but not really taking the vast majority of the snaps, just getting his feet wet, right? They may take him all the way up until game time, work him out. He feels great. They may say, you know what, Sam, we're going to give you a few snaps tonight. But this is the Andrew Wiley show for the most part still. If they weren't going to play him, if they had no intentions of playing him, they could have simply just ruled him out like they did last week. Now, obviously last week they had to make a decision and a determination because, they were going out of town because it was a road game and they were leaving early. So they had to make that decision. They don't have to do anything because they're home. So they can take their time, drag their feet on this. They may have no intentions of him playing at all whatsoever, but they decided, let's just make him doubtful. And we can rule him out on right before the game. We don't have to do anything with him. Or they could be still mulling over what they want to do, right? And they'll take it all the way up until game time and figure out, do we want to do this or do we want to do that, right? I'll tell you this much. Them pulling up guys from the practice squad and making them active for Sunday's game or Monday's game will tell us a lot tomorrow. So we'll see. Chris Rodriguez Jr., as we talked about, and Deebo Samuel, both questionable. I still have zero doubts that Deebo is out there. I fully expect Deebo to be out there. And, DQ downplayed the heel, like the severity of it. He's just like, it's a nagging thing. It's bruised. They are trying. I think this is just an effort to just keep him off of it. Like, I don't think, if the game was tomorrow, he'd be fine, right? It's Monday. It's an extra day. I don't think this thing is getting worse by the day. And so you rest him today, you rest him tomorrow, and he's ready to go Monday. And I think that's all that today was. He was limited yesterday. It probably was a little sore today because he practiced in some capacity on Friday. So they said, you know what? Let's just manage this thing. No practice Saturday, nothing for you on Sunday, but treatment, get you ready for Monday. And Deebo's playing, right? He's playing. And there's no doubt in my mind. John Bates and Jaden Daniels, no designation, and we will eventually get to the point where neither one of these guys are on the injury report. We're not there yet, obviously, but we'll get to a point where neither one of these guys will be on the injury report. Hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. So again, this is not a threatening injury report. It's kind of what we expected, with the exception of Noah Brown being out, Cosme being doubtful. I thought he was just going to flat out be out of this game. And, C-Rod hasn't practiced all week, so we'll see what's going on with his calf. And Deebo being questionable. I just figured he'd be ready to go, right? Or at least probable. Questionable makes you a little nervous, but you shouldn't be. He's going to play in this game. Now, if he doesn't play, then you have a cause for concern, because then you're asking, well, who the hell is Jaden actually going to be throwing the football to now? At that point, you're missing your top 3 receiving targets. Whoa, right? Don't worry. We're not going to be in that. But again, you can always run the football. If worst case scenario, push come to shove, you can always run the football, right? Now we go to the ops and their injury report. And this looks a lot like what we expected it to. A bunch of guys that are probably going to play and one guy that is out. So we talked about Grady Jarrett and him missing this game. He's out. Austin Booker probably going to play. He's practicing full all week. Travis Homer probably going to play. He's practicing full all week. Colston Loveland, more likely than not, going to play. He's practiced all week and been out a couple of weeks now. So plus the bye week. So more likely than not, he's going to be back. And their place kicker, Cairo Santos, practicing full all week. He's going to play. So nothing. And then we already talked about Jaquan Brisker and some of the other guys that, were a little bit iffy earlier in the week. These guys are fine. They're coming off of a bye. Most guys get enough rest during that bye week, come back, and you're going to see them on the field in some capacity. So Grady Jarrett is probably the only guy that's going to be out of this game. We're getting a healthy Bears team for the most part. Doesn't matter to me. Find a way to get it done, right? So again, nothing here really moved the needle. Now, we did find out today that the Bears are going to start some random undrafted dude at left tackle. That means they're going to probably help him vast majority of the game. Cool. Like that's good for us in terms of them not being able to get all their eligibles out in the rhythm and timing of the route, whatever. Like that makes them have to alter their game plan. Unless this dude is the next Jordan Mailata, this is going to make them have to alter their game plan with him out there in his first career start at left tackle. Now, I've heard he's started at right tackle before, right? But he's never started at left tackle. So whatever the case may be, advantage Commanders. That's all I can tell you. Advantage Commanders. So let's get to what was said by DQ at his press conference. He started his first he started off the press conference first by announcing the captains, as he always does on a Friday, now a Saturday here because we play on Monday. Offensive captain, John Bates. Defensive captain, Dorrance Armstrong. Special teams captain, Mikey Sainristil. So Then he went on to talk about those guys, what they bring to the table, why he felt like they were good fits to be captains this week, et cetera, et cetera. And then he kicked off the press conference, and he talked about, he was asked about the injuries, right? And he gave an update, and he started off by telling us Terry and Noah out. He talked about why Noah was out in particular. He said he was close, but he just wasn't there yet, right? But the thing that I found very interesting was a question. I want to say it was Ben Standing, and Ben basically asked, with the injuries, why didn't you like this? I think it was John Keim, actually. He said, basically, this is Noah's 4th game that he's missed. Why didn't you just put him on an IR? And he said, because you, in certain instances, like you put guys on IR when you just know. Doctor says, hey, at a bare minimum, it's going to take this dude a month to get back on the field. At a bare minimum. Okay, cool. That's 4 weeks. That's 4 games. Let's just throw him on IR. Like Jonathan Jones, for instance. Hey, it's a hamstring. He's an older player. We're not chancing this. Just put him on IR, right? So the temptation to try to get him out there and him to try to, rush his way back isn't there. Just put him on IR, right? He's going to miss at least 4 games. With Noah, they kept hoping that it would improve, get better, and that he'd be able to play faster than he ultimately has been able to at this point. So they didn't put him on IR. What's stopping Terry from being in the same boat? That's what I was referencing earlier, and I was referring to is I saw Terry warm up and stretch and then, a little jog, and he still looked like he had a little hitch in his giddy up. It didn't look clean to me, right? And again, I don't know where Terry is in his progress. Terry could be ready to open it up, be full speed running already, or he could be running at 80% right now, and next week he could be running at 100 and they're ready to turn him loose. I didn't see that when the little clip that I saw. And again, I'm no doctor. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. I have no idea what the hell's going on. But what if Terry's in a similar situation where they didn't put him on IR, not because they felt like the injury wasn't significant enough to put him on IR. They just didn't put him on IR because they were holding out hope that maybe, just maybe, he could be back within 4 weeks. But they weren't sure. They weren't sure. They clearly weren't sure on Noah Brown. He's now going to be out for a month. Counting this game, he was out since week 2. Terry has been out since week 4. Right? He played against the Raiders in week 3. Then he missed week 4. He's missed week 5. This will be his 3rd game coming up here in week 6. There's no guarantee he's going to be back for next week's game against Dallas in week 7 either, is what I'm trying to convey to you. And then you'll be looking at his situation and saying, well, damn, they could have put him on IR as well. We all assume that, now I'm switching gears here to Dallas. We all assume that, CeeDee Lamb is going to be fine for the Commanders game in week 7 because CeeDee Lamb got hurt in the week 3 contest, right, versus the Bears. And he hasn't played since. And if he was really hurt, they would have put him on IR, right? He's missed week 4, week 5. He's going to miss this week 6 game. He's definitely going to be back next week against the Commanders, right? Not necessarily. The Cowboys might have just been holding out hope that he could be back by the Commanders game. So they didn't want to put him on IR because he would have had to have missed that game if he was placed on IR. They want to at least keep the window of opportunity open for him to play in that game, but he may not be ready. Same thing for Terry McLaurin. They wanted to keep that window open for Dallas, but he may not play. And we got to be open to that idea that he may not play, right? We thought that we were getting some guys back potentially this week. Week 7 against Dallas has always felt like when the cavalry was going to arrive. Cosme, Terry, Noah, potentially Jonathan Jones. All those guys could be coming back around week 7, week 8 for Jonathan Jones, more likely than not. But who knows? Who knows? We keep pushing the date back. Like me on the start time of some of my live streams, the time just keeps getting pushed back. That might be how this situation goes with Terry and Noah. We know Cosme's coming back next week, regardless. They have no other recourse. The 21-day window expires next week. They have no choice but to activate him next week. So we already know Cosme's back next week, even if he doesn't play this week. Even if he does play this week and it's on a limited basis, he'll be back on a full basis next week. But those two receivers, it's anybody's guess. He gave an injury update on Debo, and he basically said, look, it's a bruised heel. You know, we're monitoring it. He said it's not necessarily a season-long thing that you got to just deal with and it's nagging, but it is something that we have to deal with right now. It's a day-to-day thing, and we just got to manage it. That's why I'm not concerned about Debo, right? It's just something that they have to continue to monitor and keep him off his feet when he doesn't need to be on. That's why he didn't practice today, right? And he's not going to do much tomorrow, get some treatment, and he'll be ready to rock and roll on Monday night. He's a tough guy, right? So then he talked about Bill, and he said that he was asked about Bill and his humbleness, because a lot, you know, and it was pretty cool listening to Bill talk on Wednesday when the media was, the locker room was open to the media, as it always is every week. And you get media scrums in front of these players' lockers, and the media gets to talk to these guys. And Bill was one of the guys they talked to this week. And shit, we had National Bill Day this week, right? So, I mean, it's everything has really happened for him very quickly. He went from a relatively unknown 7th round running back in obscurity to, how do you say his name? Is it Ja'Cory Crosky Merritt? Is it Bill Crosky Merritt? Is it Bill? To, yo, Bill. It's just Bill. And you call him Bill Crosky Merritt. You call it whatever the hell you want, but he's a beast. And all of a sudden now he's FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week. He's Pepsi Offensive Rookie of the Week. He's Tom Brady's Let's Effing Go Player of the Game. He's got sponsorship from Nike, and his name is in everybody's mouth. That kind of ascension this quickly can alter a guy that isn't as humble, someone who isn't rooted in humility. It can come at you quickly, and it can alter the way you operate. But from all accounts, and just listening to him, DQ said he's a lot like Jaden. He said, and I'm not into comparisons, so I just want to make sure I'm being clear on them, not comparing the two of them. But he said he's very similar to him in the sense that all of this extra attention, the spotlight, it doesn't faze him. He's a team first guy. He said he loves the fact that you've got two veterans in Chris Rodriguez and J-Mac in that room with him that can pour into him, that keeps him level-headed, showing him what to do, how to do it, showing him the ropes, leaning into that this guy is the best running back in this room, but there's still a role for you two, not as a mentor only, but guys that are also going to be counted on when their numbers are called in the game to make plays. So he talked about Bill handling the spotlight really well, really well. He then talked about the biggest thing that he's seen growth in, that he's proud of through 5 weeks of football. And he started by talking about the complementary nature of this team. And he led into, you know, special teams making a play, which leads to the defense coming on the field and making a play, which then gives the football to the offense, and they make, you know, plays and take it down and score, right? And he used the example of right before the half last week against the Chargers, right? Defense got to stop. The offense got the football. They didn't do anything. Now, he didn't bring this up, but they didn't do anything. If you recall, they ended up having a punt, but you get the roughing the kicker penalty, and then the offense gets the football back, and they go down and they score a touchdown. So wasn't necessarily a full complimentary deal with special teams, but the defense did get the stop before the half, gave the ball to the offense. They were aided by a penalty, but nonetheless, they scored a touchdown. And then they came back after half and they scored another touchdown. Or they got a field goal before the half, excuse me. Then they came back after the halftime break and scored another touchdown. And so the complementary aspect is everybody doing their job. You don't score 27 unanswered points without special teams doing their job, not giving up any big returns, not doing anything crazy, getting punts blocked, field goals blocked, etc. You don't score 27 unanswered without the defense doing their job. Look, we couldn't score 7 points. We couldn't score 10 points unanswered against the Falcons. Every time we scored, it didn't matter what it was, a field goal, touchdown, they responded immediately. So you can't score 27 unanswered without the defense stepping up. And then obviously the offense was incredible. So he said the complementary nature of the team. And then he tied that into the brotherhood. And he's like, the brotherhood is as strong as it's ever been. And he's like, you could go down into the cafeteria with these dudes eating, and you'll see all kinds of players sitting next to one another, conversing and chopping it up while they're eating, because they've created this brotherhood and this bond that exceeds, right, and transcends position group, side of the ball, etc. Right? And so he said this quote before, but when he was talking about it this particular time, it hit a little bit different because of what he was talking about. And he said, the best part of the team is the team. And that's how the team operated last year. And that's what we're starting to see this team operate like this year, where we're just figuring it out. We're finding ways to win and everybody's doing their part. Whether, you know, J-Mac may not get a ton of snaps, but when he gets out there and Jaden throws it to him on 3rd and 9, he finds a way to get a 12-yard gain. Everybody just doing their part. Tay Martin not getting a whole lot of opportunities, but he runs down on the opening kickoff and makes a tackle on special teams, and then he gets the ball thrown to him and gets a 9-yard gain and sets us up to get a first down and ultimately score a touchdown. Everybody's doing their part. When their number is called, guys are stepping up. Luke McCaffrey, how many targets Luke get in the last game? Can you tell me? 2. One of them was not catchable. Jaden air mailed it over his head in the end zone on a 3rd down, and we had to settle for a field goal. And then, obviously, the one that he did catch. But when his number was called and the opportunity came, he took advantage of it. And that's what you're looking for, right? So you love to see it. He was asked about the Bears, really Ben Johnson, and he just made it a broader discussion about the Bears overall. Talked about Ben Johnson and what he brings to the table, talked about the Bears defense, their ability to take it away, et cetera, and kind of leaned into their 3rd down defense and all those things. Talked about DA, Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, and things that he's doing. And so he just talked about how different a Bears team it is this year as opposed to the Bears team we saw last year. He then talked about Revo and what Revo has meant to this team, what Revo has done in the absence of Will Harris. Look, Revo was playing before the Will Harris injury. He was getting on the field, but it was in a limited capacity. With the injury to Will Harris, Revo is essentially taken over. And I got to say, I've been super impressed with Jeremy Reeves. Now, he missed quite a few tackles. Him and Jordan McGee struggled to get guys on the ground, but both of those dudes fly around. And you already know Revo's going to make some hits. He's going to make some tackles. And Revo had a couple of really good tackles and hits in the game. And he also had some misses. You know, those are a part of the game as well with him. You got to take the good with the bad. But he had 2 big pass defenses in the end zone, and those were huge. Revo's ascension to starting safety has been one of the bigger revelations of this season, because I think we all, I don't want to speak for anyone. Let me speak for myself. I was of the mindset that if Revo has to play a ton of starting safety for us, we're in trouble on the back end. Like, that is a sight we don't want to see. And I couldn't have been more wrong. he's been solid. I'm not telling you that he's, some game wrecker or game changer, but he's doing his job and he's doing it at an above average level. And I can respect that for a guy that's primarily been a special teams player for the duration of his career, to be getting an opportunity and to be seizing that opportunity, which is essentially what DQ said. He said the speed, I sensed it. And DQ been talking about Revo's speed all offseason, into the preseason and training camp. And now here we are, 5 weeks in, going into week 6, and he's talking about Revo's speed. And you see it on the field every week with Revo. DQ talked about the offensive line. And offensive line has just been, I started the show by talking about the offensive line and how impressed I am with this group. And the offensive line has been phenomenal outside of stretches of the they weren't good in the Green Bay game. Let's just call a spade a spade. They weren't good in the Green Bay game. But outside of that, and maybe a couple pockets of the Giants game, but I thought they were pretty good against the Giants. The offensive line has been special this season, especially with all of the moving parts and all of the things it's had. You got to remember about this offensive line, and it's easy to forget now that the season has started. This offensive line didn't practice at all together in the summer. At all. Whether it was Laramie Tunsil with a vet rest day or Brandon Coleman was hurt pretty much the entire summer. Chris Paul was not playing with the ones, a ton. He got reps, obviously, with the Brandon Coleman injury, but Chris Paul was in and out of the lineup. Brandon Coleman was in and out of the lineup. You had Andrew Wiley taking guard reps, even though he was taking tackle reps most of the summer because Connolly wasn't with the ones for most of the summer. Like, think about the amount of changes up front that we've seen with this offensive line. Literally, the only constant all summer long and into the regular season has been Tyler Biadasz. He's the only guy that wasn't taking vet rest days. He's the only guy not missing practice. He's the only guy not being shuffled around and put at multiple different positions. It's just been Biadasz. You look at all the turmoil that has gone on around him. He's been the one constant. You get to week 1, and your offensive starting lineup looks like this. Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, Brandon Coleman at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center. Right guard is Nick Allegretti. Right tackle, Josh Connolly Jr. And as the weeks have gone on, there's been a shuffling of the offensive line. It hasn't looked the same. It didn't look the same in at least 3 of the 5 games, right? Whether you had Wiley at guard, or you had Allegretti at guard, or you had Brandon Coleman at guard, or you got Chris Paul at guard. You've had all these moving parts, and yet this offensive line has meshed and gelled together and played extremely well. And DQ basically said, you got to credit the coaching staff. You got to credit these guys for staying ready. But ultimately, they've been fantastic. They've been one of the anchors of this team. And DQ said that later on in his press conference, he talked about this team's identity. And he said, our identity is rooted in the trenches. And right now, he's right. He's absolutely right. And we're going to expound upon that here in a bit when we get to that portion of DQ's press conference. He was asked about the young players being embraced by the veterans and, what a guy like Bill, for instance, who wasn't here last year. And so he's kind of wide-eyed and you could see he's enjoying, this, young NFL season and all the spoils that come with playing well on a team that has high expectations. But he's like, the beauty of all of these young guys this year, Josh Connolly, Trey Amos, Jalen Lane, Bill in particular, is that they have veterans around them to show them the way. Excuse me. And that's something you don't want to take for granted, is having those veteran presence in the locker room, in those rooms with those players to show them the right way to do it. And so he talked about Connolly being taken under the wing of Laramie Tunsil. He talked about, Trey Amos looking at, Lattimore and taking, tidbits of his game and things that he's done successfully, especially early in his career, and, how to continue to ascend as a corner in this league. He talked about Jalen Lane in that receiver room and all of the veterans that exist there. And obviously Bill, and he's talked so many times about Bill in that running back room and the veteran leadership there. So he's just like, it's pretty cool to see the veterans putting their arm around these young players, and that's that brotherhood that DQ always speaks of. And then he said he loves the energy that those young guys are bringing to the table. The Bills, the Jalen Lanes, the Josh Connollys, the Trades of the world. So he talked about the young guys and what they've brought to the table, essentially. And then one of my favorite portions of the press conference was DQ talking about the team's identity. He ended his press conference essentially talking about what he feels like this team's identity is right now. And he said it's in the trenches. He said, we spent a lot of resources on the offensive and defensive lines this offseason. We made an emphasis to improve both of those units. And we feel like we've effectively done that. And we're seeing the fruits of our labor right now. And I agree with that. We're the #1 rush offense in the league, despite not having Jaden Daniels for 2 games, despite the offensive line kind of being somewhat in flux this season, despite the running back position being somewhat in flux this season. We're the #1 rush offense, despite all of it. And then defensively, I've said this, we're number 17 in the league rushing against the run, which to me is not indicative of what we've been. Like, you watch us play and we stop the run in between the tackles. Off tackle, you hand it to a receiver, you let the quarterback, we lose our minds. When the quarterback runs, when they hand it to a receiver, we act like we never seen the shit before. But you try to run it in between the tackles, shit ain't happening, bro. And then you take it a step further, we're 4th in the league in sacks, right? And so when you see the way that we've grown in those areas, you can't help but say this is our strength, and we have to lean into those strengths. So really excited. He talked about the resilience of this team because we've had injuries, because other guys have had to step up and step into the fray, and we haven't flinched, and we haven't had an opportunity to even blink, and none of our guys are looking to blink nor flinch. So that's that. I talked about this team being deeper this year than it was last year. This is further proof of that. We still got a long way to go to build this roster up into a bully and a juggernaut. But we are a better and deeper team than we were this time last year. And that's important to know. So we're going to go to the game plan for this week's game against the Chicago Bears. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get a word from our sponsor, Sleeper, and we'll come back on the other side. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. So now we get to the game plan for Monday night's game versus the Chicago Bears. And I've been adamant, this is my rallying cry this year. If you are who you say you are, then prove it. Like, we're better than the Bears. The Bears are more talented than we are. I can't stress this enough. There are more talented. The Chargers are more talented than we are and were, going into that game. That doesn't matter, though, right? What matters is who's the better team, who's playing better at the time, and we are the better team in this game. The Bears have more talent. We're the better team. So we need to go out and prove it. Their aspirations and our aspirations are not the same. Caleb Williams went into the season saying, hey, if we can just win 8 or 9 games, that's an improvement. We feel good about that. That's not good for us. We made it to the NFC Championship game last year. We have real expectations over here, right? Our mindset is totally different than the one that they have in Chicago. And we need to go out and exercise that against them on Monday night. If you are who you say you are, prove it. You want consistency? You've talked about that this week. Here's an opportunity to get it. Prove it. If you are who you say you are, prove it. So how do you prove it? Let's go through the keys to victory for the Commanders for Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. You start with the offensive side of the football. And my first offensive key, dominate the line of scrimmage. I can't stress this enough. I've talked about it ad nauseum. You're probably tired of hearing me say it. Louie T, damn, how many times are you going to talk about the fact that we have the #1 rush offense and they have the number 31st rush defense? I'm going to talk about it till my face turns blue because it's a big effing deal. It should be the focal point of our offensive attack in this game. And if it isn't, I'm going to be very disappointed, and I'm probably going to be ranting about it after this game, because that to me is your most direct path to success on the offensive side of the football. I have in my offensive keys, rush for at least 200 yards and at least 2 touchdowns. I really was shooting for 3, but two is the bare minimum, and you can't allow any sacks. You got to also take into consideration the Bears are one of the worst sack teams in the NFL. All right. So not only do they not stop the run, they don't get after the quarterback very well. So let this be the game where they do neither of them again, right? So protect Jaden Daniels like you did last week against the Chargers. Give him time to survey the field and open up run holes in the run game, seal the edges, do the things that you've been doing successfully to start this season off, and let's have success against this Bears team and dominate, not win, dominate the line of scrimmage, both sides, but specifically on the offensive side. Next offensive key, minimize mistakes and stay out of 3rd and long. So one of the things that we've seen as a theme with this team is the ability to sometimes play your way out of, either blowing a team out or, winning a game or putting yourself in a position to steadily be ahead in a game and not playing from behind. And, one of the things we've seen this season with this team, and I'll give you some examples. The first game of the season, we should have beaten the Giants by, 40 in that game. It should not have been close. But because we couldn't get out of our own way, we had drops, we had penalties, we couldn't convert on 3rd downs because we were constantly in 3rd and long. We were in 2nd and long. Luckily enough for us, we did convert some 2nd and longs, but we were always behind the sticks. We were doing a lot of foolishness in that game. Because of those things, we only won the game 21-6. We were never truly comfortable like we should have been. That was a 14-6 game halfway through the 4th quarter. That's asinine that game was even that close. Because of us, not because of what the Giants did, but because of what we did, right? You go to week 3, same thing, right? That's a 10-10 ball game. You forget, that's a 10-10 football game. We're tied with the Raiders with about 7 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter after a Trey Tucker touchdown. It's 10-10 in a game that you thoroughly dominated. But you had a Marcus Mariota fumble. You had a drop touchdown in the end zone that then was followed up by a missed field goal. And all of a sudden you look up and you're in a tie ball game. It wasn't until right before the half you get the touchdown, you get the field goal, and it's 20-10. But that's a 10-10 ball game. Why? Because you were bullshitting, making mistakes, and leaving a team that you had no business being right there with in the game, right? Or I said that backwards. A game in which a team that was hanging around with you that shouldn't have been there, should have been blowing them out. You have to find a way to eliminate the mistakes, minimize them. You got to stay out of third and long. We were in a 3rd and 16, and Jaden Daniels hit Jalen Lane for the first down. We can't be in 3rd and 16s against this team. We can't be in 3rd and 16. That's when Kevin Byard, starts keying the quarterback's eyes and tries to pick some shit off. Stay out of those situations. The Bears are one of the best, not one of, they are the best team on third downs in this league right now at 29% on third downs. They are what we were 2 weeks ago. Don't put yourself in 3rd and longs because you're probably not going to convert against this defense. So no turnovers. What does this look like? Minimizing mistakes and staying out of 3rd and long. No turnovers. I don't want a single turnover in this game. Not one. I want 4 or less penalties. I think I had the number at 5 initially. And I said, no, I don't want to give them an extra penalty. We got to be more disciplined. 4 or less penalties. And then catch the ball. Catch the ball. As simple as that. Don't miss any opportunities. Next offensive key. Win in the red zone on 3rd downs and 4th if need be. Translation, be us. If you are who you say you are, then prove it. Be us. Who are we? We're an aggressive team that plays with tempo, that converts on 3rd downs. We haven't done that this season at a high clip. You know why? Because we converted on 1st and 2nd down. Well, do that then. You get to 3rd down, convert those. You get to 4th down, and it's worth going for it. Do that too. You get to the red zone, you got to put it in the end zone. We've done a really good job of doing that this season. There aren't many red zone trips where it doesn't end in us touching pay dirt. But there are some open trips to the red zone. Score touchdowns in this game. Really apply pressure to these Bears. So I want 66% or better in the red zone. You guys know how I operate. 66% or better. I want 50% or better on 3rd downs. That's a big ask of a team right now that's sub 35% on 3rd downs, and the opposing team is sub 29% or sub 30% on allowing 3rd down conversion. So that's a big ask, but I don't care. I don't care. And then I want 100% on 4th down if you go for it. Now, I don't really care how many of those there are. If you go for it, you better convert it. If it's 1, okay, 1 of 1. If it's 2, 2 of 2. If it's 3, 3 of 3. You roll the dice, you know what time it is. Go get it. And then last offensive key, get off to a fast start and finish even stronger. Don't allow this to be one of those games where we look up and here we go again with this bullshit. It's 10-0, it's 14-0, it's 14-3, and we're struggling and we're stuck in quicksand. And you're like, what are we doing? Let's not do that. Let's not play catch up. Let's not create a bad habit. We don't want to be the team that constantly find themselves having to dig themselves out of a hole. Let's not create that narrative for ourselves. I don't want to be that team. We haven't fared well in those environments either. Right now, we're 1-2 in those games when we've gotten off to these extremely slow starts. Slow start against Green Bay, slow start against Atlanta, slow start against the Chargers. We were able to battle back after a 10-0 deficit, and we all know what happened. Without that Quan Martin forced fumble and the subsequent recovery by Marshawn Lattimore, we're probably 0-3 in those spots, and we're sitting here at 2-3 on the season. Don't put yourself in that position. And another thing, don't give the Bears confidence. They're going to come in here. They're probably smelling themselves. They're on a 2-game heater. They're coming off of a bye week. They want revenge. They're going to come in here motivated. The last thing you want to do is to see their eyes light up as they start to have some success early in this game. That's what happened when Justin Fields came in here 2 years ago on a Thursday night and just bombarded us, and it was 27-3 at halftime. We didn't even know what hit us. Don't do that shit. We're better than that. Start faster. You're at home. You got the extra day. It's a blackout. You're wearing the battle blacks. It's going to be lit. Go out and start fast in this game and show the Bears what we're all about. And have it be so swift that they don't even know what hit them and they look up and it's 17-0 already, early stages of the second quarter. How about we be that aggressive team early and take it to them? Boy, I hope we win the toss. Defer, let that crowd get full throat and raucous, right? Really apply pressure. Get those jokers off the field. Maybe even force a turnover on the first possession. That'd be great. Whatever. I hope they get the ball first so the crowd can go nuts, because they're gonna be amped at the beginning of that game. No, I don't think we need to receive the football. I don't. I never want the ball first. Okay, that's not me. But here's what I do know, right? Ben Johnson wants the ball first. So no matter what happens, the Bears are going to receive the football. Every time, I've already done the work. Every time the Bears have won the toss this season, they've elected to receive. So I don't have to worry about who's getting the ball first or not. If we win the toss, DQ's deferring. If the Bears win the toss, they're going to receive. So we're going to play defense first. So I'm going to get my wish. Now can we go out and execute? Now can we go out and execute? So now we go to the defensive side of the football. Your defensive keys to victory. First defensive key, limit the explosive plays and don't help the Bears. Okay? Don't feed the Bears. All right? Look, I still don't have confidence in this defense to not give up explosive plays. Every week, somebody's running free, unmolested through our secondary. Whether the quarterback sees it or not, it's up for debate. But every week, there's someone running with an opportunity to make a big play. This goes all the way back to week 2. I think the only week we didn't have somebody running wide open against us is the Giants game in week 1. We did a really good job of covering in that game. But week 2, yeah, Tucker Kraft running wide open up the seam for a massive gain. Week 3, Trey Tucker, easy walk-in touchdown behind the defense. Week 4, you pick, right? Like the first possession of the game shouldn't have been a field goal. Should have been a walk-in Bijan Robinson touchdown. But for whatever reason, Michael Penix Jr. didn't see him. It was an easy walk-in touchdown, right? And countless other guys just open in that game. And then obviously last week you had the rookie wide receiver Trey Harris streaking down the sidelines, wide butt ass naked open. And Herbert just couldn't see him because he got sacked. He had pressure on him. So I wish I could sit here and tell you that we're not going to have a guy wide open, but we can't cover that switch release for whatever reason. And, our zone coverage stinks. And so somebody's going to be open. Can we get pressure? Can we get Caleb off the spot? Can we get him to take his eyes from down the field and drop them to trying to escape the rush? Don't help the Bears, though. Don't create explosive plays. And what do I mean by don't feed the Bears? Don't help them. Don't feed them. Like, don't give them on a 3rd and 9. Don't have a 5-yard hands to the face or a legal contact penalty that gives them an automatic first down. Don't do that. Right? Don't give them an offsides penalty free play on 1st and 10 and make it 1st and 5. Like, don't do that. Don't give them a 47-yard pass interference penalty that they didn't even complete. Don't do that. Make them earn everything that they get. Make them earn everything that they get. Next defensive key. Not only get to Caleb, but get him on the ground. I've talked about his elusiveness. He is one of the most elusive quarterbacks in all of the National Football League. I liken him to Baker Mayfield. They're both thicker build. They both have a low center of gravity. They're both extremely slippery. They both have tremendous short phone booth agility, short area quickness to be able to dart sideways, laterally, move back and forth, just to be able to move and maneuver in a way that is herky-jerky, that doesn't allow guys to get two hands on them and get them down onto the ground. We have to do a great job of bottling Caleb Williams up, keeping him contained within the pocket. He's one of those crazy, unorthodox, off-schedule quarterbacks, and he lives in that space. And if you can't get to him, he's going to hurt you. He's going to hurt you. We have to find a way. Like, this can't be like Geno Smith. Remember how many times we had Geno bottled up and then we let him get away and we couldn't get him on the ground? And Geno ain't even like that. That's the part that sickened me, is Geno not even like that. Well, Caleb is. You remember last year, and I know last year's last year, and this year it's a little bit different, but you remember how, tough it was for us in week 1 last year to corral Baker Mayfield. Hell, even last year when we played Caleb, he got away from us quite a few times in that game. Let's not let that happen in this game. You get to Caleb a couple of times early, he'll start to feel the pressure. His feet will start to get happy. He'll start to sail balls. They'll be inaccurate. Now you got a chance to pick him up. You let him get comfortable in a rhythm, in the pocket, and he can start to pick you apart. And they got the weapons to do it. I don't have to tell you. You know. Next defensive key. Stiffen on 3rd downs, 4th downs, and the red zone. Look, they're going to move the football. They're an offense that it has been scoring points of late. It's a Ben Johnson-led offense. They're going to be creative. There's going to be at least one trick play, right? You got to be wary of that. And I'm glad Joe Witt Jr. is aware that this is what they do. So you got to really coach these guys up to stay disciplined. Do your job. Don't have your eyes in the wrong place. This is a big eye discipline game. You get out of sorts, you start being nosy, and next thing you know, the ball's going over the top of your head. They're going to move the football. Can you get stops on 3rd down? Can you get stops on 4th down? Can you get stops in the red zone? I want less than 40% on 3rd downs. We're capable. Right now, we're holding teams to less than 39%. So we're capable of holding them to under. But that shouldn't be the standard. We used to be a sub 30% team, but the last 2 weeks, we've given up over 50%. So now I need you to get it back together and hold them to under 40% in this game. And then on 4th downs and in the red zone, I need 50% or less. So if they go for it on 4th down once, hold them to 0 of 1. If they go for it on 4th down twice, they can be 1 or 2. I run them 0 of 2, really, but they could be 1 or 2. They get paid as well. In the red zone, same thing. You know my mantra. You know how I get down. If they get in the red zone once, stop them. They get in the red zone twice, they could be 1 or 2. They get in the red zone 3 times, they need to be 1 or 3. They get in the red zone 4 times, they could be 2 or 4, right? But keep them at 50% or below. And then lastly, your last defensive key, dominance of special teams, right? Dominate on special teams. And I don't want to just win special teams. I want to decisively win this phase. I don't want to leave any doubt on special teams. We have one of the best special teams units in all of football from a return standpoint, from a coverage standpoint. We get it done in all phases on special teams. Field goal kicking, hopefully, is now starting to round into shape. I want to dominate these boys on special teams and leave no doubt. What did Coach Herman Boone say on Remember the Titans? Or was it his assistant coach? Dominate these boys and leave no doubt. Leave no doubt. I don't know if we're going to get a big return or not. It feels like every week we get at least one really good return in the kickoff game. I don't know if Jalen Lane has a return up his sleeve on the punt side of things, but I want to dominate these boys on coverage units, make them feel us. Run down that opening kickoff. They're going to receive the football. We've already talked about this. Ben Johnson, if they win the toss, is going to receive. And if DQ wins the toss, we're going to defer. So the Bears are getting the ball first regardless. On that opening kickoff, make them field it in the field of play, which, our kicker, Matt Gay, has been phenomenal in making teams return the football. And then get down there and lambast somebody or tackle their ass inside the 25, and let's get this party started. And from there, pure dominance from a standpoint of special teams. Ass-kicking, ass-whooping affair, special teams-wise. Hell, it'd be nice to create a takeaway on special teams. That'd be great. That'd be nice. We haven't had one of those yet this year. That'd be awesome. But I digress. In any event, that leads me to my final outcome in this game. And I got this team, the Commanders, winning this game 33-20 over Chicago. This feels like a game where I don't feel like it needs to be necessarily close. Like, this doesn't have to be 26-20, late stages of the third or fourth, and we score a touchdown to break it open and win 33-20. This doesn't have to be that. This could be 33-13, and the Bears get a late garbage time touchdown to make it, 33-20, right? It could be that instead, right? So let's dominate these boys. Leave no doubt. We're the better team. I've said that all week. I've watched the Bears. I know what they do. I know what they do well. I know what they don't do well. The things that they do well, we can combat. The things that we do well, they don't. So we can exploit. So let's do what we're supposed to do in this game. We've been given an opportunity by the Giants on Thursday Night Football to get a piece of first place. Let's take advantage of that. You talk about consistency and wanting to see that. Here's an opportunity to build something that we haven't seen built this season, and that's a win streak. We don't even know what that looks like. Here's a chance to do it at home. Big stage, bright lights, battle blacks. You have a chance to put the league on notice like, nah, this team is for real. These power rankings have us outside of the top 10. I feel like that's legit right now. We have to prove ourselves. A statement game on national television will go a long way in helping hammer that point home that this is a legitimate outfit over here that you need to pay attention to. The cavalry will arrive soon enough, but we got more than enough because we got 5 to get the job done on Monday night. If you are who you say you are, then prove it. It's really simple. If you are who you say you are, then prove it. The time for talking is done. It's all about that action, boss. So go out and get it done against a Bears team who's out here hungry for some revenge, starving. Their stomach touching their back. They want to beat us so bad. We can't deal with their fan base getting the best of us. I can't deal. Neither can you. Go get this shit done, man. Don't play with your food. Demolish these boys. It's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Monday. Should be a lot of fun, Monday Night Football, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the fellas in the Battle Blacks. Looking forward to seeing this team take another step towards being the team that we think they can be this season. And this is a big one in that direction. Need to see it from them. If you are who you say you are, improve it. We'll be looking out for all of the news and notes from this team, who they pull up to make active on Sunday, right? Well, they're going to make that announcement tomorrow on Sunday, but who they pull up to be active for Monday's game, which might tell us a little bit about what they're going to do with some of the guys that are either questionable or the doubtful in Sam Cosmi and et cetera, et cetera. And, we'll be looking to see if we get that confirmation thumbs up on Debo, which I feel pretty confident we will, right? What are they going to do with Sam Cosmi? Is he just going to end up being out of this game? Would Chris Rodriguez be available? Do they have to pull one of their running backs up? We'll see. Again, all those answers will be, or questions will be answered here shortly. But in any event, I'm your man, Louie T. signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy some football tomorrow, right? Kick back, relax. You got the whole day to just consume football. Cowboys play at 1 o'clock. Why not, right? We got them next week. Start scouting. Why not? You can watch all around the league and enjoy yourself. Get used to this. This is our new life now. But all of this is in vain if we don't get it done on Monday. So just enjoy the weekend and then look forward to us getting it done. If you are who you say you are, prove it. See you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30.